is present. Our principal designee this morning will be Ms. Miravalli, parent designee Mrs. Stone. First item up is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to board members, or is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the agenda as submitted, please so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. Consent agenda meeting minutes 9/6/19, 9/16/19. Is there a motion to approve the consent? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any changes to those meeting minutes? If none. All right, all those in favor of the consent agenda, state so by saying aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. Is there a, Mr. White is not here, so any other reports of officers, standing committees? Community comments, please. Mr. Lewis, there isn't a report of officers.
It was on the agenda.
I know that Mr. Whitehead is ill today, so he's not here. So,
It's still an agenda item I'd like to speak to.
okay.
Thank you. Good morning, Mike Lewis, parent of 2 children. I'm speaking kind of in response to previous interim principal reports. On 2 previous occasions, Mr. Whitehead was directed to obtain a response to the governor's letter. That was July 8th meeting, August 15th board meetings. It was submitted to the board members, a response on August 23rd, and it's submitted as a written public comment for the August 26th meeting, but it was not included in the minutes. I'll read it out loud now and hand it to the board so it can become public record. Good morning, Mr. Whitehead. After reading and rereading the letter to the governor, I am still struggling to understand how anyone could interpret any portion of the letter as alleging child abuse. Despite the fact that no allegation of child abuse was made in the letter, you, Mr. Whitehead, and the MCA Board continue to state otherwise at MCA Board meetings. I heard Mr. Bolduc read aloud a portion of one sentence from that letter. If one reads the entire sentence, the statement becomes clear. In response to the Fishbane report, the board is pursuing a course of action that will cause irreparable harm to one of the finest charter schools in Florida and cause significant, irreversible damage to our children. Will cause is future tense, and at the time the letter was written, the letter's signatories felt that the board's current and future actions would cause the school to be terminated by CCPS, which would have then caused harm to the school and its students. If one reads the sentence in full, one will see that the sentence does not claim knowledge of harm done to children in the past. Neither the governor nor those copied on the letter, which included, among others, FDOE, Florida Attorney General, CCPS, and Hillsdale, the enemies, interpreted the letter as it has been portrayed to the MCA community at recent MCA board meetings. One could interpret, based on your repeated statements and those of the MCA board, that there is desire to misinform the MCA community about the letter's contents and malign those who signed the letter. I hope that this is an incorrect interpretation, and that moving forward, the MCA board will act to bridge the gap and repair the harmony of the MCA community. This email submitted should be accepted as my public comment for the upcoming August 26, 2019 MCA Board of Directors meeting. Respectfully, Michelle Castro. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
I'm seeing conflicting information regarding the school's finances. On one hand, I see the fiscal year 2020 final budget review from May 2019 on the school website shows an assumption of August enrollment at 993. We started at 892. That's a $750,000 shortfall. Even with 993 students, the budget shows a 5-year outlook with the school losing money each year. One of the conclusions drawn on the 5th and final page of this document is, quote, budget is balanced by using cash reserves. quote, depletion of cash reserves creates more financial risk. It also states, quote, expenses are beyond FEFP funding, money we get from tax dollars. On the other hand, according to the 2017 and 2018 audited financial statements, it is clear that MCA is spending roughly $1 million per year less than what they could have, which is supported by the roughly $1.7 million in cash in the bank, according to the June 2019 bank statements. To what end is MCA saving all this money? We have teachers leaving. Why not offer them a raise to stay? Why in the world is a not-for-profit entity hoarding cash? Another question. Why did this board choose to pay down roughly $1.4 million in outstanding loans in 2018 that were accruing at a 6.5 and 9% interest rates, yet retained a smaller $1.3 million loan accruing at a 14% interest rate? And why do we have a $1.3 million loan when we have $1.7 million in the bank? The cash reserve we need is $400,000. That's perfect. We'd still have $400K left over if we paid off the $1.3 million loan with the $1.7 in the bank. In fact, if I total all 8 accounts, payroll, funds for the auditor account, reserve, FEFP, the total balance of the 8 accounts is $2.345 million. Now, I understand certain things are required, like funding the payroll account accordingly, funding the monies for the annual audit costs, but that is a lot of money just sitting around. I haven't seen a 2019 budget in full, and I haven't heard anything from this board regarding finances or any plan. Is this why we feel comfortable paying our former principal the highest salary in the school, $30,000 more than his boss, $20,000 more than the deans? Originally, I saw his salary and thought, wow, if you right-size that salary, you'd be able to pay every teacher a $500 or $600 bonus. But now I see $2 million in the bank, and I wonder, what are we doing with that money? There appears to be one oversight for that money, the benefit those funds could have for the current students and teachers. I mean, it's the student head count that brings those dollars in the first place. Didn't we always say as a school that we were proud that our money always went to the students and not a management company? What's the plan?
Thank you. All right, community comments, Robin Mathias.
Good morning.
Hello. I'm going to read a letter to the board and to the school community. It is a letter from the CCPS dated April 18, 2018 to Pamela Vicarious regarding recommendation for non-renewal of annual contract. Dear Ms. Vicarious, as a district employee, you are expected to conduct yourself in a professional manner at all times and to interact with students and staff members appropriately to ensure their emotional and professional health and well-being and to maintain the respect, trust, and confidence of one's colleagues, parents, and other members of the community. The Collier County Public Schools Human Resources Department received multiple complaints against you from staff who were under your authority at Manatee Middle and East Naples Middle. The evidence of the recent investigation shows your actions and behaviors towards staff were abusive, demeaning, insulting, humiliating, threatening, intimidating, and retaliatory, which rise to the level of bullying and harassing behavior. Your conduct has failed to meet the expectations and standards required of all employees. Based upon my review of the documents prepared by the Human Resources Investigation Team, I have found that you created and perpetuated a hostile and intimidating work environment, and you failed to maintain the highest degree of ethical conduct. The Code of Conducts and Principles of Professional Conduct for all Collier County employees provides that you are ethically obligated to uphold the following principles. You have failed to honor such principles and lost the respect and trust of staff and the school community at all levels. After reviewing the documentary record and discussing it with the district's general counsel and other persons knowledgeable in this matter, I have conducted that pursuant to Florida Statute 1012.33 and Florida Administrative Code Rules 6A-5.056, sufficient basis exists that your actions have constituted misconduct in office and willful neglect of duty, warranting non-reappointment of annual contract. You will continue to be on administrative leave with pay through June 15, 2018, which will also be your last day of employment with CCPS. Please be advised that this letter will be placed in your personal file. Furthermore, you are not eligible for future employment with the District School Board of Cuyahoga County at any time. This is signed by Ms. Kamala Peck. And this doesn't sound like a letter of recommendation from CCPS for our new principal, and I'd like to give this board a copy for public record.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis.
Okay, so the following were mentioned at previous board meetings, but we've had no further discussion, so I'd like an update. It was mentioned we needed help with the charter application. You were looking for help from Judy, and she had a conflict after she read the documents you sent her. This was going to be someone who could help rewrite parts of the charter, who wouldn't charge a lawyer fee, if I recall correctly. I'd love an update. Also, second, the Coleman report was talked about a lot this summer and early August, saying it was going to be completed by the end of August. It's now the end of September. Things that have not been mentioned at board meetings that probably should have been, I'd love an update on these. Number one, mediation for best and brightest. Apparently we're supposed to have mediation on Friday the 13th, but then we didn't. But there's been no discussion by this board, so this board knows what's going on. We, the public, do not. A couple of board meetings ago, it was mentioned that this board has received 2 letters from CCPS since the start of the school year. What was not mentioned was that the first letter was sent from CCPS on 8/14, and a responsive letter from the Coleman firm was sent back to CCPS's attorney on 8/16. And then we had a response from CCPS on 9/4 to that 8/16 letter. So that's where we get the 2 letters from CCPS. But why was the letter sent from this board's attorney not mentioned? Would this board need to authorize such a letter? I would think so, because a responsive letter to CCPS's 9/4 was not sent, or as far as I know, or we haven't discussed here. So someone is making these decisions. Wouldn't this be a board violation or a sunshine violation if it was discussed outside of a board meeting? Also, CCPS in those letters mentioned that the agendas were not being posted as historical reference where they typically were, and some other things about the webpage under leadership. And so those were updated. At the last meeting, I mentioned 2 edits that were needed for the 8/6 and 8/8 meeting, and those changes were not taken. Guys, those were layups, which would have only benefited your board to make those changes. But those are the types of things I would think Gina Smith would be pointing out to you. But those changes weren't made. So from my seat, it looks like this board only responds to legal counsel. So just tell me personally, do I need to invest in a lawyer to get your attention?
Thank you, Ms. Zack.
Well, first let's set the record straight. As parents, we all send our children to the school not because we don't like it, but because we love the environment they're in. We love what they learn. We love their teachers. Yes, we all love the school. This is precisely the reason why we come to these meetings, participate in comments, and share research done using our own time and resources. As a parent, when I come in front of the board with a concern, maybe instead of shaking your head at me and making faces during my comments like last time, you should ask me if I have any supporting documents I can share. Maybe consider our comments as an attempt to point out red flags or a hint that you've missed some of your obligations because you are yet to have a single post-mediation meeting without violations. But you worry about it illegal from someone who sent a public record request. That's illegal, by the way. Why am I concerned about you hiring the new principal? My concerns did not grow from reading newspaper articles. They grew from reading this. It was falsely stated at the last meeting that Ms. Vicarious was cleared from everything by the judge. Nope. She has filed a lawsuit against CCPS and it's still pending. One of the motions filed by her attorney was to have her reinstated. After some back and forth, the judge ordered to have her temporarily reinstated until the case is over. A totally separate piece of the puzzle is the CCPS investigation report that was forwarded to FDOE, who after their own investigation have found a probable cause to sanction her educator's certificate. More is yet to come. So no, Ms. Vicarious was not cleared from anything. Why am I concerned? Because you hired her as a principal of the school I send my children to, the school I got to love over the years, and the school that already received enough of bad publicity. So get ready, because when FDOE final order blows up in the media, the headlines will no longer say Manatee Middle School principal, they will say Mason Classical Academy principal. Great way to advertise and recruit more families to MCA. The most important question is, why would you want to expose our wonderful teachers who really make this school into what it is to the behavior of abuse, insults, humiliation, intimidation, retaliation, bullying, and harassment that has already been documented at 2 other schools? Wow, what a role model for our students. Not only that, you want to reward her with a bonus for academic achievement on a curriculum and teaching methods she doesn't have a clue about. That's a slap in the face for our teachers. So yes, I am very concerned about the school I love the same as all the people who keep telling me to leave. But of course, you can conveniently take our comments as an attack if you wish and continue doing what you've done so far. Where did that take you? Well, that's right, to the mediation with the district.
Thank you, Mr. Falco.
I guess what I really just wanted to say was we appreciate the work that you do and have been doing and the support. We're here for support. My wife and I have been coming to meetings. We haven't been coming for a long time, but this year we decided we needed to do something to show some support for the board, because the job you do cannot be an easy one. I'm sure that's true in a lot of places, but if there's anything you need for help or assistance that we can do, get some parents involved, let us know. We're here to support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Falco.
Good morning. I just wanted to express my concern over those 47 documents that are being asked of the school. You know, when mediation occurred, it seems like the school should have had a clean slate, so to speak. If there was something to dig up, they would have found it. From someone like me looking from the outside in, these document requests are nothing more than a blatant attack to waste people's time and energy, when that energy needs to be placed on our students. What the people are doing is obvious, cruel, and it's undermining. And what is the goal? To have CCPS take over? CCPS, who couldn't even get an online grading system up and running. By the way, I'm so thankful for Graticus. For people who claim to love this school, they really have a funny way of showing it. There is obviously not a care for our wonderful teachers and staff who have enough to do. And if they have no care for our teachers and staff, this ultimately means you don't have a care for our school. Mediation is over, okay? The school was clear, and it's time to put the focus back on our kids. These are our kids. And as far as the new principal is concerned, I am willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, as I do not prejudge anyone. I look at both sides, and I especially don't base things on other people's opinions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go on to, I don't believe there's any other public comments.
There should have been a second one for me. Public comment one.
There's more. I have 3 more.
I understand, yours are agenda items, they're not
Oh.
community comments.
Okay, I apologize.
No, there was, I put a one, there was 2 different ones.
This is what I have, what's that one? Oh, then, okay. Then
Okay,
go ahead.
yeah. Thank you.
So, this is what the agenda item for the boards, and then hers are on agenda items.
Okay, thank you. Somewhat timely that I go next. So our school policy relative to public record requests, policy B 4.0. The current public record request means a request by any person, whether written or verbal, for inspection, examination, or copying of public records. At the 9/16 meeting, one of the board members, Ms. Malinowicz, stated or requested I think it also might be a good idea for a representative of the Collier County Public School District to give a letter of recommendation for Mrs. Vicarious as our new principal, since they are partnering with us. I think that since she has a track record as a principal with Collier County Public Schools, and with their history with her as a principal, that would be a good thing for them to show her and us a clear message of support, and for them to share with us their recommendation of her as our new principal. So I'm making a verbal public records request right now for the letter of recommendation that Laura Miller-Lynch requested at the 9/6 meeting. This letter should have come from a CPS representative after the 9/6 meeting, not the one that was read previously today, and before Ms. Vicarious was sent her first employment agreement. This request is the actual communication email that shows the date, time of the email being sent, or the request being sent, and the request being received. I have a second record request, which I'd also like to get the email from Mrs. Lecter, the board chair, where she sent Mrs. Vicarious her initial employment agreement, with this showing the date, time that was originally sent. Further comment, on several occasions, parents like myself have been asked, why are you still here? Why do you still have your children at Mason Classical Academy? We are here because we believe the original concept of Mason Classical Academy, the school, not the private entity, and the classical education model found here and executed by our wonderful teachers, those still remaining that have not been driven away. We are here to hold this private entity charged with the administration of this school and this board accountable for their actions, inactions, and behavior. Board actions, like the example of the handling of the response to the governor's letter, require a demonstrate, that I spoke of earlier, demonstrate a common behavior of this board. It is either willful censoring of information and misleading the public view, or gross incompetence. It is one or the other, neither of which are behaviors of good leadership. So out of respect to the school, our wonderful teachers and staff, and the students, why are you still here? There are plenty of other boards to serve on in Collier County. It is sad and disrespectful to the staff and teachers that you continue to exhibit these types of behaviors. Frankly, it is disgusting.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to comment. Your last line there is inappropriate, and not in our policies. It's unacceptable. So I'm gonna ask next time you do come to speak at a public board meeting that you'll be respectful with your comments. Thank you.
I will, just as...
Excuse me, I don't need any back talk from you. All right, we're gonna move on to the new business of the day. The first item up is the active assailant plan. Due to confidentiality with the plan, this is not a public records request item for the record. Board members have had a chance to review it. This is in response to the required Marjorie Stone Douglas bill that was passed, and so this is a requirement, needs to be approved before October 1st. Board members, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions, concerns? Just a typo? Okay. I would just present that to staff to fix. All right, if there's no more discussion on that, all those in favor of the active assailant plan, please state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. Next item up are bylaw articles, and these are all in essentially one lump. Mr. Moore, did you want to give a brief introduction or on the bylaw changes? You don't have to, I just want to make a comment.
Yeah, so I just went through it based on our mediation settlement agreement. I made it so our bylaws comply with that, and so these are the recommended changes that, I recommend, and I think they'll be good.
All right, board members, is there a motion to approve the changes in the bylaws? All right, any discussion, questions for Mr. Moore? All right, all those in favor of the bylaws state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. All right, next item up is the appointment of...
On that item,
in accordance with this, do we actually have to designate the directors into these three groups that are?
We will yep. Big question though. All right, the next one is the appointment of the audit committee members. Board members were given a document with the applicant's name, with the applicant code next to it. I don't know, we'll start down there. Mr. Bolduc, if you want to just give numbers of your two recommended audit committee members.
Okay, for the audit committee, I think number 5 would be good, and number 9.
Based on the way that who apply for what boards, I would agree with those assessments as well. I don't know to what extent we can make one change here before we continue on too far with this, but I spoke to number 2 this morning because I thought that she may be a very good candidate for the actual board position, and she expressed a willingness to be considered for that position. Thought that she brought a lot to the table. So I don't know if this can be changed based on what they originally applied for, but if it is possible, I would like, before we go too far in that, I would like to maybe consider her for the actual board position. But with respect to the audit position, I guess we can circle back to that whenever we get to grievance, because if not, I would certainly put her on the grievance. But I would agree with number 5 and number 9.
My selections for that were 6 and 9.
My selections for that were actually 6 and 7.
All right, looks like we have 3 board members that selected 9. So it looks like the tie is now between 5 and 6.
I would just like to add on for number 6, he was going to be one of my selections for finance.
All right, I mean, I thought number 5 was also a good candidate as well, so I'm comfortable with 5. I'm comfortable with 5 and 9. On audit committee.
Is there a microphone?
All right, it looks like we have consensus. Is there a board motion to approve candidates number 5 and 9 for the audit committee?
I move to approve number 5 and 9.
Is there a second? Second. All right, all those in favor of the audit committee candidates number 5 and 9, say so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. All right, the next one up is the finance committee. So Mr. Bolduc, if you want to start.
Sure, as I mentioned, number 6, I thought was a good candidate for the finance committee, and also number 7.
I second that position, number 6 and number 7 for the finance committee.
And I'm comfortable with moving my original pick to the finance. So I'm comfortable with 6 and 7. I also had committed for finance.
Yeah, given the selections for the audit committee, I'm
All right. motion to approve candidates 6 and 7 for the finance committee.
I make a motion to approve candidates 6 and 7 for the finance committee.
Second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor, state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, we're going on to the grievance committee, and I know you mentioned was the candidate you're referring to for a potential board position. I had her selected for grievance. So before we go into it, I'd like to give this an opportunity for the other board members to weigh in on their recommendation. Mr. Wooley? Well, he spoke to candidate number 2.
Right.
And was recommending as a board, and if that's okay, so I wanted the other board members to weigh in.
Sure, yeah, I actually had parents for the grievance committee. I had 3 outlined, and with candidate number 2 being one of those, so I'm fine with moving on to the other 2.
Okay, so would you want to?
Yes, I would like to consider her for the
board?
board, yes, since she expressed an interest.
Okay.
I would absolutely support that recommendation.
All right, and let's go to the appointment of the grievance committee members. We'll start down with Mr. Bolduc.
Could we maybe select to start to see if we have our first 2 on the grievance, see if we end up selecting number 2 for the board, because if not, I would like to still then consider her for the grievance.
Okay, that makes sense.
So for the parents on the grievance, number 4 and number 3, I recommend.
My choices were, number 1 is I believe a grandparent of a student, so I don't know if that makes him a committee member. I know that we opened up some flexibility to the community member. I would agree, I would start with number 1 and number 4, and then I'd probably I would include 3 if number 2 accepts. If we select number 2, but I would start with number 1 and number 4.
Not 3 yet. Well, okay, so number 1 is actually considered a community member, so if you could give me 2 parents.
We're supposed to have 2 parents and 1 community member, correct? Number 2 is a community member, a parent also, right? So then we should maybe do the 1 community and 1 parent at this point.
Well, actually, Bolduc started with just focusing on the 2 parent positions to fill, and so we're gonna go down the line for the parent positions, and it looks like we only have 1 community member, so we need to determine if everyone's comfortable with that candidate. Otherwise, we have flexibility to add either another teacher or another parent.
Because it's 2 parents, 2 teachers, 1 community.
Right. But there's also flexibility again, so.
So then going back to what I was saying before, then since number 2 is also a parent, perhaps we just select 1 parent at this point and then the community member, and then we'll leave that last parent position open until we select the board. So under that scenario, we can do that first also.
If you want to do the board, I'm fine with that as long as there's consensus. for the board. Okay. All right, so we'll come back to grievance and go to the appointing the new board member. Mr. Wolf, if you want to begin that.
Are public comments on that before or after the agenda item?
Did you put one in for this one?
Yes. For the board member.
For the new board member? You can go now.
Okay.
What does it take to become a board member for Mason Constable Academy? knowledge of a classical curriculum, an ethical drive to learn the true, do the good, and love the beautiful. I'll tell you what it takes to become a board member on this board. 2 things. 1, a blind devotion to the board chair, and 2, a public display that the Collier County School District is the enemy. There's one board member who was voted in January. In August of 2017, this individual wrote an article on his company's webpage. Here are 2 excerpts. Quote, school board member Kelly Lichter has been attacked in a coordinated fashion. And Jen Mitchell does not want to work with Kelly Lichter to bring Mason Classical Academy success to all CCPS schools, but would rather join current school board puppets Luca Relli, Carter, and Roy Terry to sing Kumbaya. Right there, he showed his support for the board chair and disdain for CCPS. In August, this board voted in a member who showed his support to the board by saying so in public comments this summer at the June 13th board meeting, when he expressed his sympathy to this board with what they've suffered through and referred to CCPS as the, quote, monolithic giant who is trying to take down the school. Let's recruit him. Our new principal and her husband have been friendly with the board chair since before the school year started. There's a social media post that proves that. She initiated a lawsuit against CCPS in May 2018. She's hired. Why does this board recruit those who blindly follow the board chair and show disdain for CCPS? Because this board is not recruiting those who are best to lead this classical school out of its infancy and into maturity. At every other board meeting, this board is engaging another new law firm to prepare for battle. No, this board is recruiting a CCPS fighting army. This board's main purpose is to fight, not lead.
Thank you.
I will move forward. My recommendation would be number 2 in the new board position.
I strongly support that suggestion. I think that this individual's background, both in volunteer work and as a parent and as a professional, are outstanding qualifications for this position.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think she'd be an excellent addition to the governing board. Number 2.
Is there a motion to approve?
A second.
All right, all those in favor of candidate number 2 for the governing board position state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. All right, we are going to go back to grievance then.
When do we get to find out who the new board?
So looking again at the grievance committee members, I would support moving forward with as the parent members, number 3 and number 4. Are we saying all 5 at this point, or just cutting one section?
Mr. Holcomb, you had 4, and who's your other parent now?
Number 3.
So I have number 2, and I have 4 as well. And I would be comfortable, very comfortable with candidate number 3, who's a strong candidate as well. All right, looks like we have consensus. Is there a motion to approve candidates 4 and 3 for the parent portion of the grievance committee?
I make a motion to approve candidate 3 and 4 for the parent portion of the grievance committee.
Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor, state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. I apologize that the audit committee, we did elect the candidates. We do have 2 board members that do need to be officially voted in. Are there any board members that would like to participate in the audit committee? And then Mr. Blue, as treasurer, would be overseeing the finance, I know, but would you want to also be on the audit as well?
Yeah, I think that dovetails. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be willing to also serve in that position.
All right, board members, is there a motion to approve Mr. Bolduc and Mr. Wilhelm to
Can't hear her.
Second. All those in favor of Mr. Wilcom and Mr. Bolduc for the audit committee, state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. All right, next item up is the land lease. Mr. Barnes, did you want to give? Oh, yeah, sorry.
we also missed the community member for the grievance.
Yeah, we gotta finish the grievance, sorry. The finance. Yeah. So grievance, yeah. Right. So grievance committee, there is only one community member. So if the board members are comfortable with that, please give your recommendations. Otherwise, then there's flexibility with adding an additional teacher or parent. So.
I second candidate 1.
All right, all those in favor of candidate 1 as the community member of the grievance committee, state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. All right, now we're up for the 2 teacher selections, preferably one lower and one upper school to fill this role.
I would like to recommend candidate number 20 as the elementary faculty member of the grievance committee, and I'd like to recommend candidate 14 for the upper school member.
Mr. Wilcom?
Those are actually my picks as well, number 14 and number 20.
Yeah, I think 14 and 20 are good nominations as well.
Those are my picks, actually. We had great candidates. So is there a motion to approve candidates 20 and 14 for the teachers on the grievance committee? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of candidates 20 and 14 for the teachers of the grievance committee, say so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. All right, then we're moving on to the land lease. Mr. Barnes, did you want to make a brief statement regarding the land lease?
Hello. Just wanted to mention that the recreational lot land lease is up for renewal, and I recommend that we exercise the option to renew.
Board members, is there a motion to renew the land lease?
I make a motion to renew the land lease.
Is there a second?
I second.
Are there any questions, discussion?
Sorry, I just want to confirm, what's the extension timeframe?
It's already been sent to the landlord, the extension notification, so.
How long is it for?
4 years.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
It's already been signed.
There's no other discussion or questions. All those in favor of the land lease extension state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. All right, the next item is to your question earlier regarding the staggered terms, which is a separate agenda item. According to the settlement agreement, they had to be into 3 separate classes. My recommendation would be to the first class with the 2 board members who've been here the longest, the 3-year class. Mr. Bolduc's been here the next longest as the 2-year class, and then Mr. Wilcom and the new board member in the 1-year class. And then after that, it's 3 years. And this is also to note that this does not, the staggered terms is not term limits. That's my recommendation. If other board members want to weigh in, please feel free.
That makes sense to me. I have no objection.
All right, is there a motion to approve the staggered term classes as I presented?
I make a motion to approve the staggered term classes as presented by Chair Lichter.
Is there a second? All right, all those in favor of the staggered term classes, state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. Next item up is firm engagement letter, Mr. All right, Mr. Bolduc.
Yeah, as we discussed at board meeting probably a month and a half, 2 months ago. We talked about engaging a law firm to be more of our advocate. We identified one firm in Tallahassee to possibly start to work with on that matter. That never came to fruition. So I've identified another firm in Tampa. They are willing to work with us on an advocate basis, and so they presented their engagement letter, and I think they're a solid firm. I think the principals are very sharp. They understand Mason Classical Academy, and they understand especially what we've experienced over the last year plus. So I think they're an excellent firm to engage to be our advocate law firm.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Bolduc? I have one question. In any discussion with them, did it come up about the damages? Because it's obvious we've incurred tremendous financial damages due to what has been done to the school. So was that the compensation?
Yes, it was. In fact, they asked us to help quantify that. So, once hopefully we do vote to engage them, then that's the next part of the process, to work with them to identify what we feel are, or to quantify what the damages are or have been to the school.
Was there any discussion of time frame as to how long they think it should take to pursue and get resolved?
There was no specific time frame, but it wasn't. It was something that they clearly identified areas that we could potentially work with, where they can help to be our advocate, and it's not something that they want to sit on and. They're kind of lukewarm or anything like that. They feel like they could be our advocate. They feel very strongly that they could be our advocate. So I think if we were to move forward, it wouldn't be an extensive time frame to hopefully work on those items.
Any other questions for Mr. Bolduc? Is there a motion to approve the engagement letter?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second? Any other discussion? I just want to say thank you for doing this. I think it's important for the school. It's not about fighting, it's about standing up for truth. All right, there's no further discussion. All those in favor of the firm engagement letter, say so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. Next item up is the hedge for vacant land. Ms. Miller.
Thank you. So I took it upon myself to explore an option. I know that I've been working on this independently for a while, until we were actually approving the land lease. I didn't think it was appropriate to start discussing it. But I have done some research. Since we've had a great deal of trouble getting a fence approved or getting it permitted, even though the board did vote to approve installation of the fence or the budget for the fence, the next step in that was to get a permit for the fence so they could build it for the safety of the kids playing in the fields adjacent to the school. And we have invested a fair amount of money in trying to get legal help in getting those permits approved. But since that has not really progressed successfully, it occurred to me that that there is no permit required for planting a plant on the property. And so I they started to look into having a hedge planted on the adjacent fields around the areas that the students are actually playing, you know, in the areas that we're making use of on a daily basis. So there is a species of tree, actually. It presents like a bush, but it's actually a tree called a clusia. And the clusias grow very quickly. They're drought-tolerant plants. They're native to Florida. We can plant trees that are already between 4 and 6 feet high in 15 to 20 gallon containers about every 4 feet along the path that I have shown in the second, or actually the third page of your bucket. So by planting a tree every 4 feet, we'll have coverage that will keep a ball from flying out and going into oncoming traffic. It will keep children from running into adjacent parking lots or traffic, and will also give some visual privacy from public, from people in the public in the public spaces adjacent to the school. So there are some details that I've been looking into, and I can answer questions if you have any questions. We're going to get into further discussion on this, but I did receive 4 different independent bids on having the hedge installed. I did want to say, though, that originally when I started looking into this, there were plenty of the mature trees in stock and ready to go, and every few days that go by, we have fewer and fewer of those mature trees since it's approaching the end of the planting season. So if this is something we want to consider, I think we need to move fairly quickly to go ahead and engage with someone to get them planted. And so were we to approve one of these bids today, the crews that I've spoken with are able to plant and get this hedge installed with irrigation this coming weekend, over the long weekend, so that by the time the kids come back to school the first day of October, this could be in place and done.
We do have a public comment on this agenda item, Ms. Goss.
My name is Tatiana Gas, and I work in permitting related items in the county and in the city. And another parent brought to my attention how difficult it was to obtain a fence permit for the school, and I say it should not be that difficult. So I look into the previously submitted permit, and the requirement is another permit, which is called a right-of-way, which is very typical in the city of Naples, and we do that on a regular basis. And that right-of-way permit requires that any of the utility companies that there's a utility easement in that property. So if the fence goes through that area, we need to get a right-of-way permit, and it requires a letter of no objection from all the utility companies. We do that, and it takes time process, but it's not a difficult process. So I didn't know what extent of difficulties you had trying to obtain that fence permit, because I believe a fence permit is more permanent, you don't have to do maintenance, and it's safer for the students. So I'm willing to assist in the permitting for the school. If that is something that you want to consider again, I can go back and try to see if I can get all this approval for you.
Board members, do you have any questions?
You said that it's a process about, I mean, I agree, I don't see why this would be undoable, but how long does that normally take to get this approved?
When I say it's a process, it takes us a couple of weeks. Sometimes the utility departments don't answer to us as quick as we would like to. But it's a standard form. The city of Naples provides the form, provides the contact information, and we need to contact those utility companies directly and get their approval. And basically, when that fence permit is approved, the owner or whoever's going to be the leasee has to agree that if the utility companies have to do any work in that area, the utility company may take down that portion of the fence and the owner or the leasee will have to replace it at its own cost. It's not a cost that the utility department will reimburse the owner of that property or if they have to do work. And that is standard process in the entire city of Naples.
I was just wondering, fellow board members can kind of update me on what was the feedback essentially from, I believe, the Pasadena law firm, right? On what are the obstacles and why the city is not, moving ahead with permitting.
I can speak a little bit on this. We were told that there were traffic issues and there was an issue with the airport as far as the fence. And then Pasadena's law firm came back to us saying it was going to be quite costly to continue down the road of getting the permit. And at the time, Mr. Schuman, the owner of the building, was paying Pasadena for those. And then that's when things came to a head. Well, he wasn't going to continue paying on this, and that's when we offered to purchase the land and building from the owner so that we can go through bond financing and incur these costs. And we own it, and we can go through the process of doing the fence. And we submitted an offer to him, and he didn't even counter. So that's kind of where things ended.
I did a request on the permitting and I did not find the information. It could be there, I just don't have all the information behind it.
And I'm basing this off of Mr. Marshall and Mrs. Turner, who were previously here working directly. The attorney, Pasadena, was working directly with Schuman and communicating with them, not the board. So I'm getting this secondhand from them. So do you have any further information that you could add that you recall?
Yeah, we made a significant amount of effort and spent a significant amount of money trying to get this resolved and continually hit a brick wall with getting the approval of the city. And we actually had more than one attorney involved in the process, and in talking with them, they both said that the city was not happy about our using these fields for this purpose, and that was why we were seeing so much red tape, and that was why we're not getting approval. And so I saw this, I saw the hedge as a good alternative because it would be the property of the school, which could be moved should we ever look for another physical campus. And also it's, it needs to be watered in for a short time while it's being established, but after that it basically takes care of itself. I mean, yes, it does have to be pruned occasionally, but I also think that it would be a beautiful edge for the property and for the students to enjoy. And, again, it'll get as high as we would like for it to get, but it's something that is actually less expensive than putting the fence up. And so that would be, it's a significant savings compared to installing the fence.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd just like to add to that. I remember from board meetings in, late winter, spring, about the fence issue and about engaging the Pasadena law firm to kind of move it forward potentially with the city and what it would take to even move it forward. And the Pasadena law firm was asking for a retainer of $25,000, if I'm not mistaken, just to move it forward to see if we could get a fence. So, I mean, just to move forward to see if we get a fence, the city unfortunately was making it very expensive on us, and we're putting up a lot of roadblocks.
And I believe he said that in all of his years of experience, he had never seen anything like this. Because typically he gets things done, from what I'm told, in the city of Naples, and he said he's never seen anything like this. My question was, is this because of who's asking for the permit? It's like, I don't know.
Let me ask a question. I don't know if this process was in addition to the land use or just specifically for the installation of the fence, because there is a permit that was applied for, and it was a rejection issue requesting the additional right-of-way permit, but there was nothing else.
Yeah, there were other issues when we were talking about doing something actually with the property. Yes.
And I think that's the difference. If you have trying to do land use for the land itself in a different level, I agree. We will have a lot of roadblock in there because of the use, the infrastructure
Like a
around.
gym.
It's a lot that has to go
By the
through.
gym.
But if it's just a fence for your current property, that you're not changing the use, is something.
Well, and I think, that's what I think we ended up putting a hold on the land use and just focusing on the fence, and that's when they said it's gonna cost quite a bit more money. And that's what we're being told, so, I mean,
I was just trying to offer. an
I really
option.
appreciate that very much, thank you. I know you have a lot of experience in that area, so thank you for coming forward. Board members, did you have questions regarding these quotes?
I am, I do second what she was saying to a certain extent. To get a permit for a fence around an existing property, I know that there was issues going through it. I know Pasadena quoted quite a high fee, and I know that they can be expensive sometimes anyway. But I just can't, I do agree that there's a big difference if we're trying to seek a different use because it affects the traffic. That brings in a whole different thing. But fencing in your own property, I mean, even another issue, if it becomes a right-of-way, you could probably even move it in 5 feet, just don't put it over the utility easement, and you may be able to avoid that. And since it's a large property, there may still be more use to it. In terms of like protecting from, a ball going out, the balls can still go through I think it's definitely better than nothing. But I do question and I wasn't here then, so I don't know exactly what happened at that point, but I would even be willing to go to the city and try to apply myself, if we thought that was a better answer for the students and for the school. So that's my only point on that.
Actually, I was just gonna ask if you would be interested in kind of taking the lead to see if maybe we can take a different route, and maybe, Mrs. Goss can assist. I mean, I'd be comfortable with that, and I think what you brought was incredible, and I appreciate all the time. But perhaps my opinion would be before we jump on this, maybe let's make a next effort that Mr. Wilcom can talk with Mrs. Goss and maybe see, independent of Pasadona's law firm, and make a second go at it, and see.
I don't think it would hurt to give it a try. And by no means am I guaranteeing a result. I mean, I know Pasadena is a good firm, and maybe there's something I don't know, but I would certainly be willing to try that and see where we end up. And if not, then I think this is a great option, and I hate to undercut any work that has been done on that, but I'd be willing to give it a shot and see where we can end up.
Yeah, I think we'll know my guess is, Mr. Volcom, that we'll know pretty quickly whether, the fence is an option or no, let's revisit the planting, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're gonna put this on hold, and I appreciate your hard work, Ms. Marich, because that could be an option if we can't get success again on this. The next item up is the Chapter 39 training, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, so this is a Chapter 39 of the Florida statute. It's dealing with child abuse, abandonment, neglect. It's kind of all in one, and we've given this training to all our staff and teachers, and we wanted you guys to, again, get trained on this as well. So starting with abuse, most of us know what abuse is. It's physical, mental, sexual abuse, injury, being harmed with children, things like that. And it also deals with if it causes their emotional health to be impaired, so you can kind of tell they're not acting right, and that's usually a sign you should look at. And it also includes acts or omissions. And then there's also child abandonment, which is when someone's not around for their child, the parent or their legal guardian's not there, or the ability doesn't, or they have a caregiver and they can't do anything with it, or they don't have the ability to do it, and they don't make a significant contribution to their child's care and maintenance, or they fail to establish or maintain a substantial and positive relationship with the child. That is also part of abandonment. And there is child neglect. And neglect occurs if the child is allowed to be or is deprived of things like that are you need every common day in life, like food, clothing, shelter. It even includes medical treatment. Or if the child is permitted to live in an environment where that deprivation exists and that can affect them, that also affects them. And the neglect then affects their physical, mental, or emotional health, so that also is part of it. What we really want to hit on is if you had reporting this, because it's kind of, when you see something like this for school officials and for teachers, it's actually mandatory. You're supposed to report it. If you have reasonable cause to believe, or if you actually know any of this is happening, you do have to report it. And to report it, there's numerous places to report it. You can call them in, you can fax them even, and there's a website you go to. But just when you do that, there's information you're going to have to provide. You're going to have to provide your name, some information about the child, stuff like maybe their address, apartment, city, state, zip, and that's just because the Department of Child Services needs that so they can look into it and make sure everything's okay. And that's just, I don't want to get too in-depth in it because we've gone over a lot today, and I know everyone's kind of, it's a lot to take in. So that's all I wanted to say, and just, give you guys an update and make sure you guys are aware of that and know what should be happening.
I just had a question, because my understanding, isn't there like a consequence for teachers or staff members that, or I guess in this case, a board member that sees it and doesn't report it?
Yes, there is. So if you know something like that and you don't report it, like you can get certain stuff, like you can even lose your license as soon as it come out. I believe you can even spend time in jail too for if it's really drastic and you know about it and you don't report it. So those are the reasons that they have that in place, so they make sure that you report it, because even if they look into it and it turns out it's wrong, it's better than not reporting it. So that's kind of why they have those repercussions.
And then if you do report it, is there a protection, like confidentiality for the staff member that reports it? Because, there could be fear of retaliation from, if a parent's abusing a child and the teacher reports it.
Yeah, they don't use the teacher's name in when they're dealing with everything, when they're talking to the parents about it. The teacher's name's not mentioned for that reason.
Thank you. Board members, any questions for Mr. Moore on chapter 39? Okay, thank you. Mr. Hinkle. There he is. All right, Mr. Hinkle is going to give a brief training on ESE. I think most people here know what it is, but here you go. It's all yours.
Okay, so ESE stands for Exceptional Student Education, and it's kind of a blanket statement used for any kind of special services that have to be provided for students. Specifically, ESE, Exceptional Student Education, refers to kids who have individual education plans. So those are students who have special needs. The terminology is always changing because we're trying to sort of protect people's reputations and confidentiality and everything like that. But essentially, it comes down from a federal law called Ideally Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And it specifically is trying to provide the needed services and accommodations and extra help for disabled students so they can have the same access to the education as everybody else. And that idea goes back, I believe, to the 70s, but it keeps getting updated every several years. So that's kind of the main thing when you're talking about ESE special services, kids with special needs. It can be all sorts of things. It can be physical disabilities, it can be mental disabilities. There's a whole plethora of different things. And to get that, because there's federal funding, there's a pretty rigorous evaluation process that you have to go through. They do rigorous psychological tests and classroom evaluations and teaching evaluations, and they're important also. student does in school, and they try and find out exactly how much assistance they need, what type of assistance. So it's a very rigorous process. There's plenty of federal funding associated with that, kids with special needs. Then there's the kids who are gifted. There isn't really any federal law that has to do with that, except I believe Jarvis law that has to do with trying to identify underrepresented groups for giftedness. So if you're in a minority group or if you speak English as a second language, there's like something like $12 million of funding that goes into that, just making sure that those kids are identified. Giftedness it's not a disability, but it is considered in the realm of student services. And so gifted students, same thing, it's a fairly rigorous process, not quite as rigorous as special needs. But there are state and local requirements for if a student is identified as gifted, what you have to do for them. So that's more of a local thing. It doesn't come down from the federal government. And there isn't really federal funding for that unless it's minorities and underrepresented groups. Then there's Section 504 of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act, and that isn't specifically for education. So that applies to anybody with any kind of disability that interferes with a significant portion of their life. So let's say or something like that. Well, the school would have to provide some means of helping you get upstairs and downstairs. Perhaps if you didn't have an elevator, have an elevator installed, or something that effect. Maybe leaving the class to a place where you can access it. If you didn't have a ramp in your wheelchair, the school would provide a ramp. Oftentimes we have kids with ADHD who have attention deficit disorder, and so you might just make accommodations that are fairly simple for the teachers to do in the class to sort of make sure they're retasking them and giving their attention again. Other students. So there isn't really any funding for that. That's a disability protection. Currently at our school we've got around 50 kids with 504s, about roughly 50 kids with EPs, that's giving us education plans, and about 79 to 80 kids who have special needs. And a lot of that is also things like speech pathology. So sometimes it's a simple fix, I suppose the main thing to take away from this is it's all about being in compliance with state laws, federal laws with state laws, and it's not really something that there's a whole lot of leeway. It's very objective the way that these kids are evaluated. It's very objective and official and legal services that we have to provide. It's all signed off by several people every single week. We have exactly what it says in these documents, the IPs, the EPs, the 504s. So it's kind of something that district, in that sense, we're really not supposed to be different from the other CCPA schools because it's coming down from federal and state laws. The way we deliver the education is a little bit different, but the way that we have to evaluate and oftentimes the way we have to deliver services has to kind of be the same. So if you take it from another school, an IP, and another school, whatever the IP says from the other school, we kind of have to do the same thing here. So I guess that's kind of the lowdown on that. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. All right. This is the FERPA notice. There was a board or a community comment, Ms. Lewis.
I read the MCA policy manual. I discovered policy B 13.0, violation of established policies.
Oh, we're on FERPA notice?
This policy states, quote, anyone found in violation of an established policy will receive a written notice immediately. It gives categories for the violations as board violations, school administration violations, etc. It also states, anyone who experiences a violation of policy is encouraged to notify the school administration and/or the board of directors. Policy further states written notice will be reviewed at the next board of directors meeting and included in the board of directors minutes. I emailed 5 school administration violations on Sunday night regarding policy SE 34.0 student records. This is regarding not only MCA policy but federal law. Notification of rights under FERPA. An annual written notice shall be given to inform parents, guardians, and eligible students of their rights of access, waiver of access, challenge in hearing, privacy, categories of personally identifiable student information designated as directory information data, and the location and availability of the MCA's policy on education records of students. My children have attended MCA from day one, August 2014. This is their 6th school year, and a few weeks ago I received my first annual FERPA written notification. Therefore, I sent the school administration 5 violations to Mr. Whitehead Sunday night. I expected those 5 violations to be addressed at this meeting per policy B 13.0, violation of established policies. If they're not, I assume we can add another policy violation to the list for next board meeting. Violation of policy B 13.0, violation of established policies. By the way, I don't like reading policies or federal law or Florida statutes. When Principal Hall called me approximately a year ago to offer me Mr. Marshall's role as compliance officer because he was then leaving in December, I told him no, because I don't like this sort of task. Please start following federal law and your own policies so I don't have to read them to hold you accountable.
All right, I'm going to address the FERPA. I've got a letter from Sean.
Can I address something about that first? Is that I am aware that there is a federal law and we're under the same guidelines as the rest of the county schools are. When requested from Collier County CPS about FERPA notices, because anybody I've spoken to at public schools has never received a direct FERPA notice. Collier County Schools said that it's sufficient for it to be up on the CCPS website where there is a notice regarding FERPA rights. It is written and it is available for anybody to see. If you go to that website, if you go to any of the individual schools, they do not actually disseminate to the students directly, and there is no notice on the individual school websites. According to Collier County CPS, it is sufficient for it to be on the Collier County website for all students in all schools under that under the same disclosure. If you go onto the Collier County CPS website and you look under schools, they have elementary, they have middle, they have high schools, and they have charter schools. If you click on the charter schools, you will see MCA is listed as a school. We have disclosed FERPA in the same way that all of the rest of the county has, and according to them, under their $1 billion budget, that is sufficient for disclosure. So I don't think that there is actually a violation here of the FERPA rules.
Actually, to your point, in fact, I requested from the district the direct FERPA notifications that were sent out to parents and or students, and that was the answer I got. It's not sent out, ever. It's on the website. We are not, we did not violate policy or federal laws. Also to point out that FERPA, if there is a violation of notice, the consequence is just to get into compliance. We're actually sending out a FERPA notice that's going above and beyond what CCPS does. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, since from 2010 to 2019, I had a student at either Lake Park Elementary, Gulfview Middle, or Naples High School, and me and my wife never received a direct FERPA notice from the district.
And on a Facebook page I saw last night, it was inferred that the fact that we are now posting or sending out a notice is an admission of guilt. No, that is not the way the law works. To go over and above or go beyond what you're required to doesn't admit that you were previously wrong.
All right, thank you. I think we've cleared that up for the record. Let's go on to policy updates. We have a public comment, Ms. Lewis.
So my last comment was regarding your own policies, not CCPS or whatever. So it's in your own policies to provide written. So anyway, board policies. I found 5 board violations. I submitted those on Sunday night in advance of this meeting. Why again is policy B 13.0, violation of established policies, not being followed today? Do we have another violation? Violation number 1. There's actually 3 under this heading. Quote, it says policy B 1.0, board membership. There's 3 under this heading. Quote, other than described within these policies, individual members of the board of directors hold no authority or decision-making ability outside of official meetings of Board of Directors. 1. Sean Arnold receives a letter from CCPS attorney James Fox on 8/14. Michael Coleman replies on 8/16. Who gave direction to Sean Arnold to forward the letter to the Coleman firm? And who authorized the Coleman firm to reply to CCPS's letter? This action was not ratified at the 8/26, 9/6, or 9/16 board meetings in order to bring it into the sunshine. Number 2, at the last meeting, 9/16, Mrs. Lichter stated, I thought we should at this time unpublish the Facebook page, which I have, until things calm down. This decision was not discussed or nor ratified at the 9/16 meeting. If board members hold no authority or decision-making ability outside of official meetings, she's in violation of policy B 1.0. Third, at the 9/16 board meeting, this board discussed a counter contract to offer Mrs. Vicarious. An initial contract had already been sent, which included details that were not discussed at the 9/6 meeting when this board simply voted 4-0 to approve her as principal. Those details include start date, termination date, salary amount, evaluation date, board meeting to discuss her evaluation of 6/15/2020, number of working days required per year, an annual renewal agreement date of 6/1/2020. Somebody on this board either made these decisions on her own, or the board decided outside the sunshine and then did not ratify that action at the 9/16 meeting. There are 2 other board violations that pertain to how 2 board members were recently voted onto the board without the prerequisites outlined in policy B 1.0. For example, one requirement for a board member: have a demonstrated history and continued commitment to volunteering in the school, a minimum of 10 hours per month, excluding transportation for at least 12 months prior to the application. These can be waived, it states, but the board needed to take an affirmation vote by the majority of its members in order to waive the requirements. I did not witness this when the board member who was voted in August was voted in, nor is there a record of such a affirmation vote in the minutes from January 2013 when the other board member was voted in. These are 5 board violations that I emailed on Sunday night. They're not in the minutes, they're not on the agenda, so it looks like we have another violation.
Real quick, they wouldn't be in minutes. The minutes are from what's happened at the meeting. I did want to address this policy violations here at the meeting before we get into policy updates. These policy violations were forwarded to the Coleman Law Firm. And regarding the response to the Fox letter, first of all, before I discuss that, CCPS School Board did not have a meeting and direct Fox to send any letter to us in the first place. So, and here's the response from Coleman. The fee agreement between MCA and the Coleman Law Firm provides that the Coleman Law Firm is being retained to represent Mason Classical Academy in its dispute with the District School Board of Collier County, which will include defending Mason Classical Academy against any claims made by the District School Board of Collier County and or filing any affirmative claims for relief against the District School Board of Collier County. Sean Arnold's firm is general counsel for MCA. Coleman was hired as litigation counsel explicitly to deal with issues in the dispute with the district. The board does not need to direct who will respond to letters regarding the dispute with the district. Both firms have the authority to respond on behalf of MCA. The attorneys representing MCA decide among themselves who will respond to communications regarding the dispute with the district. Coleman Law Firm responded as it is the firm dealing directly with the district on this issue. No policy violation. Facebook. The removal of the Facebook page is an issue for the administration of the school and not a board issue. You inform the board what had been done. No member of the board voiced any, and that's me saying I unpublished it. No member of the board voiced any objection or asked that it be placed on the agenda at a future meeting. In fact, there was actually consensus and even a comment from another board member stating they agreed with the decision. In an overabundance of caution, the board could vote to ratify the decision to remove the Facebook page, but again, it is an administration of the school, not a board level.
But she did it.
Anyway, moving on. Principal contract was another complaint against the board. Details included in the employment agreement for Ms. Vicarious were included as a starting point for negotiation of terms of the agreement. Mr. Moore actually drafted up the agreement, sent it to all the board members. The board members responded directly to Moore with any feedback, and that was then sent to Ms. Vicarious. There was no discussion of the terms among the members of the board outside of the board meeting, and it wasn't until the board met where we actually discussed further. No violation there. the election of David Bolduc and Connor Wilcom to the board. Both Mr. Bolduc and Mr. Wilcom have provided volunteer time to the school on several issues, which indicated their interest in helping the school. The board is deemed to have knowledge of its own policies and procedures by virtue of the fact that the board voted to appoint Mr. Bolduc and Mr. Wilcom. It impliedly waived the requirement in policy B1.0 regarding volunteering. No policy violation. So hopefully that clears that up. We're going to move on unless board members have questions about that.
Yeah, I would just like to say, in going to the Coleman Law Firm about the Facebook page and whether Mr. Wilcom and I, volunteered before coming on the board, I don't know, and dealing back and forth with the Arnold firm on this, we probably ran up a tab, probably another, $5,000, that's my guess, that we'll see. And, for people who, say they're really worried about all the money going to the classrooms and to the teachers, well, this is a tremendous waste of money.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Do we need another one?
Agreed, thank you.
Agreed, thank you.
I didn't know there was actually a response from Coleman, but most of the points that I was going to say, I think it was discussed that we would defend ourselves, so any response would seem appropriate to a letter that was attacking the school. The fact that by them voting us in, they affirmatively waived those requirements by agreeing to allow us in. And so I think Coleman already hit most of the points, but I was just going to affirm a couple of those.
All right, we're going to go to policy updates. The first one up is the board principles for policy. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Are there any questions, discussion? All right, all those in favor of amending board principles for policy state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, amendment or a change to the board member confidentiality agreement. Is there a motion to approve? For a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the changes? Okay, all those in favor of the board member confidentiality agreement, say so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Board policy 5.0 committees. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve 5-0.
Any questions, discussion? All right, all those in favor of board policy 5.0 committee, state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Board policy 6.0 conflict of interest. Is there a motion to approve? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor of board policy 6.0 conflict of interest, state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Board policy 9.0 fundraising. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
All those, any discussion? All right, all those in favor of board policy 9.0 fundraising, state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Board policy 17.0 management compensation review policy. Is there a motion to approve?
Oh, this is the one. I took it out.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Oh, okay.
All right, all those in favor of board policy 17.0 management compensation review policy, state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. We're going to go on to board comments. Board comments. We'll start.
Yeah, a really positive piece of news was, delivered to me over the last day or so, and that is one of the high school students at Mason Classical Academy, Leah Hall. She has been selected as one of the National Merit Scholarship finalists, and it's a very prestigious level of the PSAT achievement. There were over 1.5 million students took the test, and out of the top 50 scores, they were identified to, I guess, move on to a form of additional recommendation or additional notification of their fine results. Some 16,000 of those high performers recently designated semifinalists on the state representative basis. And then the other 35 high performers are now being named commended students based on the National Selection Index score. So, kudos to Leah Hall for achieving the commended students level. It's a great honor. She's the only one in Mason Classical Academy, and I believe the only one other student at Mason Classical Academy to achieve this level was her brother Dennis Hall, if I'm not mistaken. So, I think this is just a tremendous reflection of the type of education that the teachers and the school as a whole are providing to our students, the type of, just fantastic learning environment that the Hull family has provided to their children, and, for that matter, Mr. Hull and the fantastic learning environment that he provided from day one at the helm of Mason Classical Academy. And we wouldn't be in the position academically that we are today, I feel, without the leadership guidance of Mr. Hall. So I'd like to commend the entire Hall family for what they provided to Mason Classical Academy over the years.
A couple points was first, Mr. Coleman sent me a brief email yesterday just saying that he didn't view most of these violations that were recently presented as violations, or at best technical violations that can be reconciled with a simple vote if it at all needed. He suggested that I try to take the lead and become real familiar with the rules and try to assist make sure just to help provide additional oversight to the board, and I said that I would try to do so. So going forward, I am going to try to even become more familiar with everything in the contract and try to provide any support I can in that. Second was that there was points made that we should appoint people to the board that don't support the school, or it's something wrong to appoint somebody who supports the school. Yes, I support the school, of course I do. And any board would appoint people that support the school. To do otherwise would be negligent and wouldn't make sense. To appoint people that support CCPS over the school, yes, I do agree that would not be beneficial to the school. We've seen what CCPS has done with every other school in the county, and that's why the people here are here. So yes, I do support the school, and I don't think that it's wrong appointing people that do support, because we're trying to continue what we're doing here and make it better.
That's why you hired CCPS.
Thank you. To Mr. Bolduc's comments, thank you for bringing that up. I second all of that, and kudos to the entire Hall family. That's a huge accomplishment for Leah, and we're extremely proud of her. I do want to touch on, actually, Mr. Bolduc, can you quickly touch on the mediation with Best and Brightest? Do you have an update on that? Because I think the district canceled it.
Yeah, I was scheduled to be the board representative to the mediation on Best and Brightest, and then the day before received a notice from the Arnold Law Firm that it's been postponed, and that the Arnold Law Firm is engaging directly with the district to hopefully get this resolved. So I guess they feel like they're perhaps close and didn't really need to get the mediation, and they just wanted to work one-on-one to finalize this.
Thank you. In regards to the Coleman report, You know, we have to keep in mind, yes, it's taking longer than what we had hoped for, but Fishbane had an entire year to compile his 61-page report, we'll call it. So the Coleman firm is taking the time necessary. They've had to go through extensive documents, interviews. I'm hoping by next week. They originally told me tomorrow they could have a draft. It's still possible, but we will get that information out as soon as possible. We want that information out probably more than you do. And I look forward to that and look forward to people recognizing the truth when it does come out. That's all I have.
I'd like to also congratulate Leah Hall and Dennis Hall and the Hall family on that tremendous accomplishment. I think that speaks volumes for Mr. Hall as an educator and as a mentor, as well as the amazing faculty of this school and administration. I wonder if it would be appropriate for a press release to be issued to congratulate. Okay, wonderful. A couple of other things I wanted to say that I was rereading some of the training that we received as a board from a few years ago, and I wonder if it would be all right with the board if I make a synopsis of the part of that training that referred to working with grievances, just to give that to the new committee members so that they have an outline of what the board was given in training. And also I'd be happy to provide the materials from board training to the new board member if that is something that would be helpful. Oh, I'm sorry, also, I just would like to thank everyone who submitted an application for the various committees and for the board. There were a lot of wonderful qualifications and sentiments that were expressed in those letters of intent and applications. And I just want to say that there were a few issues that were unfortunate. I know there were a couple of people, or at least one person who never submitted never submitted all of the necessary documentation so that we could consider them fully. But I'm very comfortable and very pleased with all of the new appointees to those committees. So you'll be sending letters out to those people?
Yeah, actually, I was going to finish my comments today with, I'll get a mass email out. I need to do one anyway to announce our new principal, and I'll give an update from today as far as who our committees are. And then I did want to suggest then with the committees, we do need to get the committee meeting set up prior to the 15th. We also need to schedule a board meeting / SAC meeting, which could happen simultaneously. Like basically we have a board meeting, adjourn that, and then open it up for a SAC meeting. If board members could look at calendars, I know want to be mindful of everyone's time. So I didn't know if the week of October 7th, if there's a time there, we can set that up in the morning for both a board and SAC meeting. There's no school on the 9th, so definitely not that day. Would Thursday or the 10th or Friday the 11th be acceptable? Okay, Tuesdays is open for me too. Is everyone comfortable with the 8th?
Yes.
Okay, great.
No.
No?
No, sorry. I'm going to travel.
Oh, okay. Is the 7th not an option, or?
I'm traveling.
You're traveling, okay.
Yeah.
So it's
We
gonna
never
look
see
like
this
it's
when
gonna
the
be either
personal board
Thursday or
meeting
Friday
date.
if possible. Thursday, are you good on Thursday?
10th, yes.
I don't think I'm gonna have, there's a possibility I'm gonna have a trial.
What time would that start?
I don't know yet, it's up to the judge. I don't
Okay.
think it's gonna happen at that point, so if we need to have it, I'm pretty sure I'll be okay. It's not until the next week.
Okay. So 8:30 on the 10th? Let's do, right now, 8:30, we'll get on the calendar for the 10th. That's my birthday. No donuts for me. All right, so, I'll get that email out and, announce all the updates from today, either today or first thing in the morning, so. If there are no other comments, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.